I had so much more written for this than actually made it in. This was another case of YouTube's time constraints causing me to have to hack this thing. Sadly, those scripts and audio files are long since lost now, but I remember one thing that got cut. There was this bit where Obi-Wan was talking to Jango Fett in a room or something, and I did this whole bit where they talk back and forth having this vapid conversation, and I thought it was pretty funny, but something had to go, and I guess I thought it was expendable. I used to get kind of frustrated by YouTube's time limit, but later on I saw it as being kind of a good thing in a way. Nicholas Meyer once said that art thrives on limitations, and particularly in my later work, I think I now know what he's talking about. After the move to Blip in 2010, I had no limitations on how long I could talk about something, and I have to say, I'm not all that happy with a lot of the work I did in the Blip years, for many reasons, but one being that I think those reviews were just in desperate need of an editor. YouTube's time limit was, in a way, its own editor, and I think that was one of the reasons a lot of my early work was better than a lot of my later work, at least to me. I also couldn't use video clips yet, which meant I had to get creative in how I was explaining what's going on in the film. And it also meant that I got to do the Anakin voice, which I'm told was amusing to people, so I'm very glad. But holy crap was I excited to do this one. The mishandling of Anakin's character right out of the gate, the bewildering story problems, such as the Senate granting someone emergency powers so they can do something that the Senate could have done in the first place if they wanted to, and especially the issue of Anakin admitting to Uba Duba that he killed women and children and her complete non-reaction to it, which as we see is completely inconsistent when he does the same damn thing in the next movie and she loses her shit over it. This movie was a jaw-dropping disaster to me, and it was really fun to talk about and express that. I think everything was set up really well in this review that led into the next review. Everything flowed very well. Of all the reviews I did in the early years of Confused Matthew, this one might just be my favorite. These commentaries are getting shorter, as you can see, as I'm kind of running out of production stories, but this is when I was really getting into the swing of things on the show and having a lot of fun talking about things that I just love to talk about. But as I've said many times to my Star Wars fan friends, whether you like the prequels or not, when it comes to Star Wars, we're all fans at the end of the day. So again, if you disagree with this review, if you thought differently about some of the points I make, that's totally fine, but I hope at least some of this review was at least fun for you, because it was really fun for me. Alright, enjoy.
You know his words will get you farther than the film will ever go. Give him a moment of your time, he'll tell you what's wrong with the show. He knows what's good, what's bad, what's really bad. His face is just a sign. Say hello to Confused Matthew.
So I thought to myself, okay, Lucas made a pitiful film the last time around, but the reviews have come in, time has passed, and he's surely been able to realize what went wrong by now. So when I went to see this one, I had a renewed sense of optimism. Everyone makes a bad film now and then. Maybe episode 1 was just a rare misstep, and this film will make up for all the bullshit of the last one. Nope. The film opens to the following information. Thousands of solar systems have declared their intentions to leave the Republic, and they are known as the Separatist Movement. This has made it difficult for the limited number of Jedi to maintain peace and order in the galaxy. Not that they were doing a great job of that in the last film either. So Queen Uba Duba, who is now Senator Uba Duba, is going to Coruscant to vote on the issue of creating an army of the Republic to assist the overwhelmed Jedi. Okay, wait a minute. How the hell is an army going to help the Jedi maintain peace and order? Don't armies maintain the opposite of peace and order? Unless by peace and order they really mean oppression and subjugation, which is what this sounds like to me, and considering these are Jedi in the prequel films, it wouldn't surprise me a bit. From what I can tell, these separatists aren't trying to hurt anyone, they're just trying to leave. So why is there a vote as to whether or not an army is the solution, especially to assist the Jedi? What are the Jedi actually saying here? Stay in the Republic or die? Great. So if you're a society of suffering slaves on Tatooine, we won't lift a finger to help you, but don't you dare try to leave the Republic or we'll get army on your ass. What the hell kind of Jedi are these? Guardians of truth and justice, my ass. So then we cut to a long scene of Uba Duba's ship slowly gliding its ass down to a landing pad. Hey George, When you made the first Star Wars film and we saw that awesome ship flying overhead, that was great. It was an innovative special effect which looks good even to this day, and it started your film off with a lot of momentum. This is boring. And not only does the effect look horrible, on par with a badly drawn cartoon, but this is the 21st century. We see special effects all the time. Who cares? Get the hell on with this. So anyway, they finally land the damn thing, but a bomb goes off in the ship. Luckily, it turns out that the person who died was just Uba Duba's bodyguard, and Uba Duba was once again disguised as... whatever, who cares. So then we cut to a scene with Chancellor Panda Bear saying that he will not allow the Republic to be split in two. Mace Windu then replies that if it is split in two, there won't be enough Jedi to protect the Republic. Again, protect it from what? They aren't trying to kill anyone in the Republic, they're just trying to leave. And if you didn't want the Republic disbanded, maybe you shouldn't have set it up all stupid. And then Chancellor Palpable asks the most idiotic question of all. Do you really think it will come to war? Come to war over what? They aren't trying to kill anyone, they're just trying to leave. Is this really stay in the Republic because we say so? Because we think it's good, and if you don't agree, we'll blow your face off? And I might even be able to understand why the basic government wouldn't want people to leave it. If half the United States tried to declare itself as an independent nation, I imagine there would be a response. But why the hell are the Jedi going along with this? This is what peace and justice is to them? Stay in the Republic or die? What the hell kind of Jedi are these? Guardians of Truth and Justice my ass. So Uba Duba then comes in, and the Chancellor recommends that after her assassination attempt, the Jedi be assigned to protect her. And since she already knows him, he recommends that Obi-Wan be the one to protect her. Mace Windu then chimes in saying, yeah, that's possible because Obi-Wan has just returned from a border dispute. Again, sorry Tatooine, we're far too busy to help you guys out, we've got border disputes to deal with. God, these Jedi are useless. Oh, and we also see that Yoda has turned from a tangible-looking thing into an obviously fake, blobby CGI mess that doesn't look anything like the puppet he's based on. Nice job, George. So then, we finally get to see Anakin as a young man. It's the moment we've all been waiting for. Obi-Wan comments that he looks nervous, that he hasn't seen him this nervous since they fell into that nest of Gandarks. And Anakin replies, no, you fell into that nest of Master friggin' dumb shit, and I rescued you. That's what I did. Okay, who's this whiny, bitchy, obstinate, dumb as rocks little imp shit, and where the hell is Anakin Skywalker? The two of them get into the room, and almost immediately this shit infused with piss starts bitching Obi-Wan out. After 10 seconds of screen time they had with one another in the last film, he still has a thing for Uba Duba, see, and he thinks that they should investigate who tried to kill her. Obi-Wan says that they were only sent to guard her, not to start an investigation, and Anakin responds in a way that's equivalent to an infant throwing his toy on the ground and going, no, we can investigate, stupid dumb shit, Master. Why else would we be here, to be sent here? Security can do what we're supposed to do. This is the first and probably biggest problem with these prequel films. Anakin, our supposed hero and protagonist, is an asshole. I mean, he doesn't listen to anyone, he's not very nice, he treats everyone around him like shit, and he only cares about himself. Now, if you've seen my Lion King review, you'll know that that's the way I described Simba, but this is worse. We were introduced to Simba as an asshole. Anakin Skywalker was supposed to be a great guy, whose fall to the dark side was a surprise and a shame. If I hadn't seen the original films, I would have assumed this piss shit was on the dark side right now. So eventually Uba Duba goes to bed, and these two are left outside to shoot the breeze. Obi-Wan notices that Anakin looks tired, and Anakin replies that he hasn't been sleeping well lately. Obi-Wan then asks if this is because of his mother, and Anakin nods, saying he doesn't know why he can't stop dreaming about her. Obi-Wan then tells him dreams pass in time. So, wait, what's wrong with his mom? Oh, I get it. She's still a slave on Tatooine. He hasn't seen her since he's been freed, and he's worried about her. So here's the first thing I thought upon hearing this. What's she still doing on Tatooine? Why didn't they go and get her? I mean, I understood why they couldn't do it in the first film, sure. They had limited time and resources, they barely got out of there with the kid. Once they got back, there was nothing stopping anyone from returning to Tatooine, shelling out a couple of bucks, and buying her ass. Especially considering the Jedi don't care about slavery. I kept waiting and waiting for the movie to explain why they never went back for her, and it never comes up. Are you telling me that going back and buying her never even crossed any of their minds? It's his mom, for God's sake! Or how would that conversation have played out if it did cross their minds? At last we have the boy. Now we can train him and get what we want. Yes, but what about his mother? Oh, fuck her, we got what we wanted. What the hell kind of Jedi are these? Guardians of truth and justice, my ass! As soon as you realize the characters in this film didn't do something that they easily could have and logically would have done, you know this has to be a setup for some stupid storyline. And man, have they got a doozy in this film. All I can say is at this point, I actually thought to myself, gee, I wonder what's gonna happen to this woman. Welcome to part 2. So the assassins try to kill Uba Duba by using big caterpillars, and this begins a long and gratuitous chase scene involving navigating through flying traffic. Man, I've never seen anything like that before. What makes this dead in the water is that none of these characters act like they're in any real peril during this scene. On the contrary, Obi-Wan hanging from that robot looked positively bored, as did Anakin when he was free-falling through back-and-forth traffic. It's as if they don't care. And if they don't care, why should I? So after chasing around in traffic and meandering around in a bar, they eventually apprehend one of the two assassins. She's just about to spill the beans when the other assassin takes her out with a poisoned dart in the neck and then takes off. So then Anakin and Obi-Wan get split up. Obi-Wan is sent to track down the second bounty hunter, and Anakin is left to escort Uba Duba back to Naboo and continue to guard her. So then we cut to a scene with the Chancellor shooting the breeze with Anakin. Apparently these two have somewhat of a relationship over the years. Anakin thanks him for his guidance, and the Chancellor says that he is the most gifted Jedi he has ever encountered. He foresees that he will become the greatest of all Jedi, even greater than Master Yoda. Which once again has me asking, in what sense? So far, Anakin hasn't done anything particularly outstanding when compared to any of the other Jedi. They all use lightsabers in exactly the same way, they can all do that fancy jumping around stuff. What makes Anakin different? Or Yoda for that matter? They're all doing exactly the same things. Again, going back to the original films, a great Jedi was in the character of these people, how wise they were, how strong in spirit. The Force was a spiritual guide in the original films. But in these, the Force is just superpowers that happen to have attached themselves to random people. So Obi-Wan tells Windu and Yoda that he doesn't think Anakin is ready for this assignment, that he still has too much to learn, and that his abilities have made him arrogant. No, Obi-Wan, he's not just arrogant. He's an asshole. So Yoda says that this arrogance is a trait that is more and more common among Jedi, even among the older ones. Interesting, considering the only thing I've seen a Jedi do in these films is sit around on their asses and mediate tax and border disputes. Windu then tells him, remember, if the prophecy is true, Anakin is the one who will bring balance to the Force. Though what that has to do with Anakin not being ready for this assignment, I still don't know. Anyway, so Anakin begins his mission of guarding Uba Duba, and then we come to find that she's apparently been taking anti-growth hormones because although he's 10 years older than he was in the last film, she's still exactly the same age. The film doesn't try to give any explanation for why this is, so I'll go ahead and give it my best guess. A wizard did it. So they both return to Naboo, and then we begin the arduous task of Lucas shoving down our throats the pill that these two are in love. Again, since he can't tell a story in these films, he is forced to string together trite, cliché love story dialogue to make us believe this. I love you. Me too. But I can't love you. Me too. I am in agony. Oh, me too. And mixed up in all this forced and unconvincing garbage dialogue are a few random conversations about how Anakin can't stand his mentor and thinks he's better than him, and that he hates democracy and thinks a dictatorship would be just fine. Yeah, I can see why she finds him so appealing. So after all this meandering, Anakin eventually up and decides to go to Tatooine to try and help his mother. Not 10 years ago, not 5 years ago, not 2 years ago, now. Great timing, dumbass. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan begins his investigation by going to a diner that looks like it's right out of the Spaceballs parody. He meets with what looks to be a deformed, shapeless pile of CGI shit and asks him if he knows where the dart they found in the assassin's neck came from. He says he recognizes it, that it comes from the planet Kamino, which is not in the Republic, it's in the Outer Rim. He tells him that the people on the planet are cloners and gives him coordinates so that Obi-Wan can get there himself. Naturally, since he has coordinates to the planet, Obi-Wan then goes to the library and looks the planet up in the archives. It seems he can't find the planet there, so then he goes to Yoda and asks him for help. Yoda can't seem to find the planet in the archive records either, so he asks the children for help. Finally, the answer that is so obvious even a child knows it is given by one of the children. Someone erased the planet from the archives. Finally, Yoda advises that if Obi-Wan just follows the coordinates to where the planet's supposed to be, he'll probably find the planet. Gee, thank you, wise master. Why didn't you just go to the coordinates in the first place? Again, when you have no story to tell, you've gotta eat up screen time any way you can to make your special effects reel feature length. Anyway, Yoda tells Obi-Wan that someone went to a lot of trouble to erase the planet from the archives, and that only a Jedi could have done it. He then tells him to get his ass to the planet and don't stop at the library this time, and that he will meditate on this. Try not to hurt yourself there, you little moron. Meanwhile, Anakin and Uba Duba go back to Tatooine. They track down Watto and ask to see his mom. Watto tells him that he sold her years ago to a moisture farmer on the other side of Mos Eisley. So they drag their asses there after a long montage, and we learn that the person who bought her actually married her, had a kid with her, and treated her great. At least someone in this film is a halfway decent person. Anyway, it turns out that a month ago she was captured by Sand People, and no one has been able to infiltrate their camp to rescue her. If only there were some sort of guardians of truth and justice in the galaxy that might be able to help with this. They probably have to care about someone other than themselves, though. So Anakin travels to the Sand People's camp and tries to rescue her, but finds her almost dead. She says a few words about how she's complete now and how much she loves him, and then dies in his arms. Then we cut to a scene of Anakin killing every living thing in his path. And after learning what kind of person this little shit is, there's no surprise here. Then we cut to a scene with Yoda sensing Anakin's pain. Mace Windu comes in and asks what's wrong, and Yoda replies, "Something terrible has happened. Young Skywalker is in pain. Terrible, terrible pain." Gee, I wonder why that could be. I mean, the tax disputes have been resolved. The border disputes have been resolved. What could he possibly be bothered about? So then Anakin starts whining to Uba Duba about how he couldn't save her, how he should be the most powerful Jedi ever, and that this, of course, is Obi-Wan's fault. Well, now I can see what Obi-Wan was talking about when he was telling Luke what great friends they were. But considering Obi-Wan could have come back and rescued his mom whenever he wanted, considering the Jedi should have rescued this planet years ago, I can't really disagree with that. Finally, Anakin confesses to Uba Duba that he killed the Sand People. He killed them all. They're dead. Every single one of them. And not just the men, but the women and the children, too. Now, if anyone's potential significant other that they don't really know very well yet came to them and told them that they murdered one person, I would hope to God this would cause you to run frantically out of the room and immediately contact the authorities to take this psychopath away. But what does Uba Duba do when she learns her boyfriend committed genocide? She just stands there with that blank, vacuous expression on her face that she always has. All she ever has to say on this matter is that to be angry is to be human. Now, I'm not sure when we started calling these people humans, considering this is supposed to be a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, but I want to make one thing perfectly and unmistakably clear. Uba Duba has just learned that her boyfriend killed children, and she doesn't care. She does not care. Welcome to part 3. So Obi-Wan follows the coordinates to the planet, and what do you know? He finds the planet there. He enters a building to find 2 fake-looking ostrich things that have apparently been expecting him. They explain that 10 years ago, a Jedi Master named Cypher Dyas placed an order for a clone army. Obi-Wan informs them that Cypher Dyas was killed almost 10 years ago, and asks who the army is for. The ostrich people then tell him that the army is for the Republic. So then they have a long and slow exposition about who the original host was for the clones. It was a bounty hunter named Jango Fett. Obi-Wan then asks to speak with this bounty hunter. Now, there's another fan service written into this scene, but it's so meaningless and who cares that I'm not even going to mention it in this review. So Obi-Wan enters the room, and he and Jango start playing the let's run out the clock with slow and meaningless dialogue game. So after this meaningless bid for screen time, Obi-Wan then reports to the Jedi. He tells them that the cloners are using the bounty hunter to create a clone army, and that the order for the army was placed 10 years ago by a fallen Jedi. Windu tells Obi-Wan that the Jedi Council never authorized the creation of a clone army, so whoever did it did not have authorization. They order Obi-Wan to bring Jango to them so that they can question him. Okay, so we've got a Jedi who ordered a clone army without authorization, we've got a Jedi who erased the cloner planet from the archives, we've got a bounty hunter who can be linked to Uba Duba's assassination attempt when Uba Duba was going to vote against the clone army, and after a chase through an asteroid field, we can also link this bounty hunter to working for the Separatists as well, who are led by a Jedi that turned to the dark side. Okay, that's more than enough evidence to say that this unauthorized clone army should be destroyed, as it is obviously part of the conspiracy that Yoda was apparently meditating on. So I'm sure the Jedi are real close to cracking this case wide open. So Obi-Wan follows Jango to a planet where a huge droid army is being manufactured, and he overhears Count Dracula, a former Jedi leading the Separatists now, discussing their plans. They now have the largest army in the galaxy, and Dracula comments that with this army, the Jedi will be overwhelmed, and the Republic will agree to any demands. Oh, they have demands? Oh, okay, well, I guess they actually do want more than just to leave. Turns out they also want... What? What do they want? So Obi-Wan gets captured, and then we have a scene of Count Dracula actually monologuing the entire evil plot to him. He tells him everything. That the Senate is controlled by a Dark Lord of the Sith, whatever that is, and that the Jedi are powerless to sense his presence. Meanwhile, these morons learn that the Separatists have created a huge droid army and are about to attack for some reason. They all agree that the Senate will never approve the use of clones, so something must be done. I want to repeat that. The Senate will never approve the use of clones before the Separatists attack. So obviously, either they just flat out don't want them, or they're still deliberating on it. So then they all agree that this is a crisis, and that the Senate must vote the Chancellor emergency powers, so that he can approve the creation of the army. The Chancellor then asks, what senator would have the courage to propose such a radical amendment? And they respond, gee, if only Uba Duba were here, her one vote always gets radical and asinine proposals ratified immediately. Well, I guess we're just going to have Jar Jar do it. So Jar Jar then goes to the Senate and pleads his case that the Separatists are a huge threat, and proposes they grant the Chancellor emergency powers, and the Senate all agree. So let me get this straight. The Senate wasn't willing to approve the use of clones, but they approved giving the Chancellor emergency powers so that he can approve the use of clones. The Senate actually agreed to a proposal to circumvent themselves. If Jar Jar's case was so convincing that they were willing to extend the Chancellor emergency powers to approve the clone army, why didn't they just approve the clone army themselves? So a clone army is approved, and then both the Jedi and Anakin get the message about the droid army, and learn that Obi-Wan has been captured. Windu decides to take a bunch of Jedi with him to try to rescue Obi-Wan, while Yoda goes to Kamino to see the clones for himself. Meanwhile, Anakin decides that he will not go to the droid planet to rescue Obi-Wan, because he has been given strict orders to stay here and guard Uba Duba. And as we all know, Anakin will follow orders when the plot needs him to. Uba Duba then says that she's going to rescue Obi-Wan, and if Anakin wants to continue to guard her, he'll just have to come along. So the two go to the droid planet and then get dumped into a long video game that the audience can't play. After meandering through this scene, they eventually get captured and they're scheduled to be executed along with Obi-Wan. So the three of them fend off big monsters for a while before being surrounded by droids. They're all just about to be executed when finally the Jedi get there and intervene. So they all have a big fight that takes forever to wrap itself up, but long story short, the Jedi lose and get surrounded. Count Dracula is just about to give the order to kill them when all of a sudden, the clone army comes out of nowhere and starts blowing up the droids. We then see that the army is being led by Yoda himself. You know what? Fuck this movie. So the Jedi actually collected more than enough evidence to conclude that the clone army was created by traitors in secret without their knowledge or authorization, and they can link this directly to the separatist movement. So their solution to this obvious conspiracy is to play right into its hands? What the hell could Yoda have possibly said when he got to Kamino? Order these clones we did not. Unauthorized this was. Conspiracy we know there is. What this is, this probably is. So, destroy them we should, but... here they are. So... use them I guess we will. They were investigating a conspiracy! And now they're just going along with that conspiracy as if the investigation never happened. Remember, this army was created by the Jedi, not the Senate, the Jedi. It's theirs to destroy. As soon as they learned that the army was created in secret 10 years ago without authorization, and that someone went to the trouble to hide it from them, they should have immediately destroyed them all and told the Republic to make its own damn army if they want it. How retarded do you have to be to have actually uncovered a conspiracy, actually have someone explain the whole conspiracy in detail, and then turn around and go along with it when the investigation is over? If the Emperor hadn't taken these people over, they likely would have collapsed under the weight of their own stupidity anyway. So the droid and clone armies start shooting at one another because of, reasons. So they both catch up to Count Dracula, and Anakin acts like the moron that he is and tries to take him on himself. So Dracula shoots lightning at him, turns to Obi-Wan and says, "As you can see, my Jedi powers are far beyond yours. Because I can shoot lightning, I guess. So, stand down." Then they get into a lightsaber fight until Obi-Wan gets cut a little and lies there like a dumbass. So then Anakin gets into a fight with him, but he gets his arm cut off and then lies there like a dumbass. Finally, Yoda enters the room. Count Dracula tells him that he has interfered with his affairs for the last time, even though technically he has interfered with his affairs for the first time. So Dracula throws some shit at him, but that doesn't work. So then he shoots lightning at him, but that doesn't work. So then he says, "It is obvious that this contest will not be decided by our knowledge of the Force, but by our skills with a lightsaber." So if throwing shit didn't work and lightning didn't work, what the hell makes you think sword fighting is gonna work? Like I said in another video, this scene is so gratuitous, it could have kept on going even after this. When they were done sword fighting, Dracula could have easily said, "Okay, now it's obvious this contest won't be decided by our skills with the lightsaber, but by having a dance-off." And by the way, whose stupid idea was it to give Yoda a lightsaber? That's like giving Superman an airplane. And did he do any better than they did? Again, they were all doing exactly the same stuff. This was supposed to be the scene that demonstrates what a great warrior Yoda was, and all I saw was the same jumping around crap. Except in the theater I was in, this scene provoked laughter rather than applause. So finally Count Dracula knocks a thing over to crush Anakin and Obi-Wan, and Yoda saves them but lets Dracula escape. Which makes you wonder why he didn't just do that in the first place. So Anakin and Uba Duba go back to Naboo, and Uba Duba actually marries him. Even despite the fact that he's got that funky robot arm now. Oh, and that he bitched her out in front of the Queen, made dissenting remarks against democracy, advocated for a dictatorship, expressed his disdain for all of his peers, especially his master, and he committed mass murder. I want to make that clear. Uba Duba knows damn well that her boyfriend killed innocent women and children, and she married him anyway. She does not care. So then the Jedi all go back to Coruscant. They completely forget that there ever was an investigation in the first place, and never again have anything to say about the sleeper agents they just let into their organization knowingly. Now we see that evil will always triumph, because good is dumb.